All right. Now I'm a little on the fence on whether I should buy this game or not. Give it a shot. Actually, I did try to buy it on Amazon, but it says it's not released yet. So I don't know if that's just on Amazon or I could buy it maybe in another website or something like that. Or maybe I'll just go down to GameStop and just get it. But the point is, I'm kind of on the fence because sometimes when you can't buy something, sometimes you shouldn't. I take that as a sign, maybe you shouldn't buy the game. But I have been looking at reviews online, and from what I hear, people are having problems with the game. So you guys let me know what you guys think. I'm just gonna give my opinion on the game as far as what people are talking about and what they're saying online on those reviews and stuff. Um, and my experiences with boxing games in general. That's what this video is going to be about. Um, so I've played a total of three boxing games. Okay, three boxing games. The very first one was a long time ago, Fight Night Round 3 on the PlayStation 3, I believe it was. And the guy in the cover was Oscar de la Hoya. And I remember really liking that game. The only thing was like the mechanics of it was I liked it, but the parry system was a little bit weird, but I still liked it. So, but most people didn't like it. That's what I understood. Back then, most people didn't like the parry system because it slowed down the game a little bit, and most people just want to keep the fight going. But that's what made it interesting to me because it's like from my point of view, okay, that game was more realistic than the other Fight Night games that came after it. So after that game, um, things didn't feel the same no more. But people liked the game more. So even though I fell off, it seemed like the majority of people began to like Fight Night more after they took off the parry mechanic and after it became a little bit less real. So, and listen, I know there's a difference between a game and a simulation and actually boxing. No shit. But for example, a game, most of the time there's um, like an element of you pushing something and seeing something cool happen. Okay, that's the main thing a game does. A game makes it to where um, you push something and something cool happens. That's it. That's pretty much what a game is. A video game is. Um, but when it comes to a simulation tries to mimic the real world. Tries to mimic what it would be like to actually do the thing that you're trying to do. And a lot of times, simulations are used in military programs to simulate certain um, things that might actually happen in the real world, like simulation for planes, simulation for hand-to-hand combat or whatever, or a weapons-based simulation. It's literally the word. It's supposed to simulate the real world or a real experience, and that's pretty much the difference. And I understand that, right? But I've noticed that the majority of people don't really want real in a game. They want a game. They just want to be able to push buttons and punch and throw punches and um and that's it, and that's fine. I'm just saying personally, from my point of view, I've sparred a lot before. I've got a punch in the face a lot. I punch people in the face a lot as well. So um I know what it feels like, and I know that it doesn't feel like a heavy bag. Like in my personal experience, when I play, I because I did try out the other Fight Night games like Fight Now, Fight Night 4 and 5 and 6. I tried a couple of those, but I didn't like them. The the problem with it from my point of view is it's too spammy, right? It doesn't feel like you're throwing punches. When you connect, it doesn't feel like a body. And I know that these are picky things that I have, right? Like for example, Fight Night Round 3, it actually felt like you were hitting somebody. It actually felt like somehow they made it to where it felt like actual skin contact, right? Um, to where when you played the other Fight Night games, it felt like you were hitting. It felt like, let me see if I could mimic the sound. It felt like you were hitting like a punching bag, um, which is different. Like a punching bag is not a good way to train how to punch a human, in my personal opinion, because a heavy bag is too stiff. Pause. It's too hard. Was the same thing, but and it's too heavy. Most humans ain't gonna weigh, especially if you're boxing. They're not gonna weigh 300 pounds, or maybe they weigh 200, but that's in the heavier weight classes. But you're also gonna weigh around the same weight. But a lot of these smaller fighters, when I see them punch like that, the heavy bag and stuff, like they don't really do that much, anyways. They do it a little bit and they kind of barely touch it, right? Because it's not a good training method to learn how to punch. Most of the time, you're gonna see them being on the speed bag or on the double in bag or things like this, or they'll use something with a little bit more give, like the water bag, right? And the reason for that is because humans are softer, right? Humans have give, and there's a certain element of your punches sinking into the opponent when you hit them. That's how it actually feels. But I feel like, in my personal opinion, I feel like the developers of Fight Night. I know I'm talking about Fight Night and not Undisputed, but I'm gonna get to my point here in a little bit. But I feel like the developers of Fight Night realized that people didn't really want real. They really didn't want real because most people have never been in a fight, or most people aren't really, especially if they play EA Sports, they're not really that adept to actually doing the actual sport. And because of that, um, they backed off of the realness and making it more of a game than an actual simulation of a game. And that's why in my personal opinion, um, the trajectory of the games that came from Fight Night 3 after that began to decline, in my opinion. The way, for me personally. Now I know for most people, like from what I could see, a lot of people started liking it more after they took off the parry system and they took off, the realism of Fight Night Round 3. And I remember the other thing I liked about it is when you punch somebody, you could see the skin like ripple, which is accurate as well. Um, so um, damn, dude, everybody wants to talk to me when I'm making these videos, bro. Um, the other thing I wanted to say about the parry system, for Fight Night Round 3, and I'm gonna start talking about Undisputed when I've heard. But first, let me say this: the parry system. A lot of people said that that was the most unrealistic thing in the game, but actually, in my personal opinion, that's actually one of the most realistic features. Um, I don't know if you've ever been in a fight with somebody or been in a sparring session with someone, put laced up the gloves and fought against them. Once you start learning how to slip punches and defend, time kind of does in your brain. Time kind of does slow down slightly, so you could see openings. Um, this is something that's developed with time, and that boxers, at least from my personal experience, you do kind of see things slow down. Like if you make somebody miss, he throws a jab and you slip it, right? You do see an opening. It kind of slows down a little bit because time in itself is perspective. I think I've said this before. Like if you look at the freeway and you're further away, right, you see it slow from a distance. Right, it's like, oh, the cars are going kind of slow from a distance, right? Um, but you get there and you see that they're coming fast, and you gotta, if you're gonna cross the road, you gotta be careful because they're actually going, 80 miles an hour or above. You know what I mean? Like, or um, for example, a plane crash, right? You see a plane crash. I don't know if you've never seen it, but like in the movies, or if you see a plane pass by, it looks slow, but they're actually going pretty fast. And the people that are there, they're not going to be able to dodge that um, when it happens. So what I'm trying to say is speed in itself and time in itself. It's perspective. It changes with perspective. So I truly do believe that there is some fighters that can slow down time when they move out of the way, or they see things ocularly in a point of view to where it kind of slows down. So from my point of view, Fight Night Round 3 was pretty realistic. Um, but of course, most people they don't know that. Most people have never been in a fight before. Most people have never really even done sports that much before. So realism isn't necessarily the thing devs want to go for anymore because most people are not gonna like that. And bringing it back to Undisputed, not the movie, the game. I looking at the reviews and how people are talking about it. It seems like people are already having a problem with it. Now, I don't know if this is because the game is too realistic or the game is not realistic enough. From my point of view, and the way, like I said, I know people are, most people are. If from what I heard that this was similar to a simulation. I knew that it wasn't going to be that popular because EA Sports has tried to simulate the real thing before, and they failed. Okay, and because people, the main reason is because people don't want real. Okay, they don't want realism. They just want a game. All right, let's talk about shooting games just for a little bit. I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of the high caliber guns they go through walls. Okay, you can't hide behind a wall if somebody has a high caliber gun, especially here in the United States. Okay, because most of our walls are very weak. They're made with like very weak wood, and most of the high caliber guns are gonna go through walls. So if you have like 6 guys with high caliber guns outside of your door right now, and they shoot at you, they don't really have to see you or know where you're at. They could just go all out, bah, 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 and your whole house will be destroyed pretty much. But if you put that in the game, people will lose their shit because they're used to running behind a wall and thinking everything's going to be fine. When the truth is that a lot of guns go through walls like that. A lot of high caliber guns go through walls. There's a lot of things about guns that they're not going to put in a shooting game because most people are used to fake shit and they like the fake shit. They like the game because it's a game, primarily a game, not a simulation. Okay, so I'm just kind of showing you how I think people think, and I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong. Another example of this is another fighting game that I played on VR called The Art of Fighting or Boxing, something like that. And that was an actual simulation. Now, if you guys want to feel what a simulation feels like, go get you a VR and play that game. Mine got busted, so I don't know how to repair it, but it's a very entertaining game. Highly recommended, but not the most popular one. And even me mentioning that game, most people don't know what I'm talking about because it got outsold and overshadowed by another more faker game um, called Creed. I think it was Creed 2 or Creed 3, something like that. One of those. And Creed, I don't know if you know, it's based on a movie, right, called Creed, um, which is a spin-off of Rocky Balboa. I'm pretty sure if you like boxing, you know what I'm talking about. Um, but that game was not realistic. That game was primarily a game. And you could pretty much tell the difference between if you play Creed and then you play The Art of Fighting, you could tell the difference. One of them is a simulation and the other one is a game. All right. Um, and but the more popular one was definitely Creed. Everybody liked Creed. I would try to get my friends to play The Art of Fighting, and most of them would tell me that I should play Creed. And I was like, no, The Art of Fighting is better. But the majority of the people around me liked Creed, liked the game over the simulation. And it's sort of, I mean, I get it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying most people aren't going to like simulations or real. They don't want real, they want a game. Okay. And I get it. Because if you want real, just go box. And I'm not even trashing the game because I personally like when I play a game. If I'm going to go out of my way to play a game that I actually have tried before in the real world, it has to be something like a simulation for me personally. You know why? Because I've done it. you know, not professionally. I'm a hobbyist, but I've done it so much to the point to where I know what it feels like. I know what it looks like. Um, and if the game is going to be lackluster, I'm not personally gonna like it. Okay, now, but what I'm trying to say with this, with Undisputed, is if they're trying to make this a simulation, they have to be prepared for the fact that 99.9% of people are not gonna like the game. Okay, from my personal experience, that's what I have seen. Um, people don't like simulations. They don't like real. They're trying to escape, and I get it. I absolutely get it. And they're trying to do the things that they can't do in real. It's like Guitar Hero, for example. Which, by the way, Guitar Hero is actually harder than real guitar. The real guitar is easier to play, which for me personally. Um, but and I'll give you an example. One of these reviews that I saw a guy playing it online, and he picked Ali, right, and he was facing Rocky Marciano. Where's Rocky? I can't find Rocky. Oh, here he goes. By the way, he doesn't even look like Rocky. He looks like I don't know who that is, but yeah. And in their simulation, the guy picked Ali, right? And I don't know if what he was thinking. I think he just thought that because he was Ali, that he was just supposed to win, right? And and he starts the game or whatever, and he's fighting against Rocky Marciano, and I'm looking at him, and he's standing in front of Rocky, slugging, like slugging against Rocky Marciano, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how do you expect to win, even if you have all the abilities that Ali has? If you're not using them to the best of their abilities, you're going to lose the fight against Rocky Marciano because Rocky Marciano wants you to stand there and bang with him. That's his bread and butter. Okay, the guy was mad at the end of the fight because he lost by decision. Rocky Marciano knocked him down like 4 or 5 times in the fight, and he still complained about it. He blamed the ref and he blamed the judges or whatever. Um, And I was looking at it, and I was like, bro, this guy doesn't know boxing, dude. Because if I'm picking Ali and I'm gonna face somebody like Rocky Marciano, number one, I'm staying on the outside because Ali's strengths are footwork and hand speed, and his jab is probably his number one weapon. You know, keep him on the outside, learn how to use angles, and if this is a good simulation, if I see somebody play the game and I know he sucks at actual boxing, I'm not gonna blame the game. I'm gonna blame the guy. If this is a simulation and it's as real as they say, I haven't seen a guy that moves the characters the way they're supposed to be moving. You know, if you have Ali, just from my point of view, my advice: don't stand in front of your opponents and bang. You know, don't throw haymakers with Ali. You want to use the jab, you want to stay on the outside. Now, most people don't even know what that means, staying on the outside. You got to stick and move. All right. Um, but that brings me to my other point that I saw people complain about, which is haymakers are OP. Okay. Now, and I'm not judging anybody. I'm just giving my personal opinion on what I've experienced in the real world. In the real world, haymakers are OP. Okay. In the real world, haymakers are OP. This is the reason why when you see a street fight, you go online, you see most street fights, you're going to see haymakers. Everybody's throwing haymakers because number one, they're untrained. Number two, it's the best way to fight in the streets. And number three, only a professional or somebody who's trained how to handle a street fight will be able to do anything about it. Okay, so me seeing most people throw haymakers on a game that's supposed to be similar to a simulation makes sense to me from first glance. Of course, I have seen people say that the stamina isn't going down and their punch power isn't going down, and they're able to throw as many power shots or haymakers as they can. This is unrealistic. Most people within a round will lose all their power, all their strength, and all their stamina. And you could eliminate them within 2 rounds. Probably less than that, depending on the weight and how many shots they miss. Um, you know, the way you beat a guy who's throwing a bunch of haymakers is you jam him. Number one, you grab him. Number two, or you catch him, with a 1-2 on the inside before because haymakers are slow. Like kind of like similar to Canelo versus Kirkland, the famous. Uh, I think it was a 1-2 and then a slip under the hook. That's basically going to be your way out. Also using angles um, to throw the jab. This is my recommendation. Okay, if there's a guy here, let's say he's hopefully this um, people understand what I'm saying here. Let's say your lead hand is the left hand, right? Like a regular orthodox. The other guy is also orthodox. He's throwing haymakers. What you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to move towards your lead hand, right, which is gonna be to the left side, but at a further away angle, not close. And most of his shots are going to miss. Haymakers are not. If it gets too close, then you jam them. And haymakers aren't going to be effective from that range. You're going to cut off the energy. Okay, now that's what I would do in the real world. Okay, but I don't know if this is the case here, because if you make a guy miss a lot, and even if he doesn't, even if he's throwing haymakers, even if he lands some of the haymakers, he's going to get tired. You know what I mean? So basically, what you're doing is you're trying to take the steam off of some of them. You're trying to make him miss a couple, and you're trying to get hit with as few as possible. And he's gonna get tired within, like, most people get tired within like a minute, and then they can't even pick their hands up. You're gonna be able to hit him easier. Their punches, even if they hit you by that point, they're not gonna hurt you, unless he's Wilder. But what I'm trying to say, if these elements of them getting tired are not in the game, then of course it's a problem. But you guys let me know what you guys think. Um, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys later.